Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA, prime Angus, and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course, the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on all of our network affiliates, TV and radio. Everybody streaming on Pick Your Favorite Streamer. Thanks for that as well. On Chicago Food Favorites, thanks for joining us there. That is a fun group on Facebook. Check that out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites. Talk about your favorite foods, favorite restaurants, favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Now, don't spam the page because I created it and I am the administrator and I will boot your ass off of there if you spam it. All right. Oh, by the way, our friends over at Vacation Buddies are interested in picking up the tab for a couple of nights, those hotel rooms right here in Las Vegas, or a couple of nights in Orlando or in Branson, Missouri, if you can answer a simple trivia question. And here's the question. Which one of these three Major League Baseball pitchers pitched a perfect game in the World Series? Is it A, Randy Johnson, the big unit, B, Shohei Ohtani, or C, Don Larson? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. If you know the answer to that simple trivia question. And by the way, folks, Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want you to have a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or in Orlando, Florida, if you know the answer to that super simple trivia question. And if so, call 888-576-5777. All right, and that was a really good leader into today's topic for the day. And so there's this big debate, apparently, whatever, because, well, Shohei Ohtani has had a big day in his career. He had a 3-home run day, and he struck out 10 in 6 innings, and that was in the playoffs and whatnot, Major League Baseball. And so people are saying, well, that's the greatest performance ever in Major League Baseball. Well, let me play something for you here. This is compliments and courtesy of, let's see who was the author of this one. This is found on YouTube, and I think everybody seems to have this one. And this was Major League Baseball. All right, so let's give them their just due. But listen to this, folks. And then we'll have this conversation on the greatest performance in a baseball game in professional baseball history. Here we go. On the call is Vin Scully, the great Vin Scully. The windup, there's the pitch.
Got him! The greatest game ever pitched in baseball history by Don Larson. A no-hitter, a perfect game in a World Series. Never in the history of the game has it ever happened in a World Series. Only the second time in baseball history, a World Series, where a perfect close to pitching a no-hitter and didn't do it. But no man has ever pitched a perfect game in a World Series. Only one perfect game has ever been pitched, but that was in the course of the regular season. But when you put it in a World Series, you've set the biggest diamond in the biggest ring. And so hats off to Don Larson. No runs, no hits, no errors, no walks, no base runners. The final score, the Yankees 2 runs, 5 hits, and no errors. The Dodgers, no runs, no hits, no errors, in fact, nothing at all.
Now that, folks, is incredible. In fact, that deserves the super applause. Nobody's ever done that. And so, look, people will say, well, you know, Shohei Ohtani had a few home runs and he pitched 6 innings. He had 10 strikeouts. And I think that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's one hell of a performance. That's one almost for the ages. However, some people and a lot of people in today's time are arguing that that's the greatest performance in baseball history. Really? I'm here to tell you different. Because first of all, Don Larson's perfect game in the World Series, that's right, against the crosstown rival, you've got the New York Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers. I mean, really, does it get any bigger with all the home pressure, the World Series pressure, and everything else that comes with it? Frankly, I don't think so. However, let's think about this. What Ohtani did in today's times, he did something that was magical for sure. Hitting 3 home runs in a game is a really big deal. It's not as if it hasn't been done before. And by the way, he was pitching in that game. But it's not as if a pitcher has not hit a home run before, or 2, or whatnot. Now, the bigger question is, let's go to a simple head-to-head matchup in what Ohtani did in this particular game. That's right, with the 3 home runs and 6 innings pitched. And let's go ahead and compare that to a gentleman by the name of Rick Wise. That's right, Rick Wise. So you say, well, who is Rick Wise? Well, let's go back to the history books just a little bit ago. And we think of a guy that was a pitcher in Major League Baseball. And we say, okay, what can you tell us about Rick Wise? Because that's sort of before our time. How about Rick Wise being a pitcher with who? The Philadelphia Phillies. That's right. He's with the Phillies. And this guy was a pretty darn good pitcher, in case you don't know. And so let's go back to this guy's career and you say, well, what do we know about Rick Wise? I mean, is he really that significant? Well, I'll tell you what. He's significant enough to have achieved some of the unthinkables. And first of all, making Major League Baseball is one thing. Now, Rick Wise, this guy is still around. He had a career record above 500. ERA career was about 3.69, 1,647 strikeouts. He played for the Phillies, the Cardinals, Red Sox, Indians, that's right, Indians, and Padres, 2-time All-Star. And, of course, he pitched a no-hitter on June 23rd of 1971. And that's where it brings us to this quick discussion between him and Show Me the Money, Shohei Ohtani. So, Rick Wise, in comparison with what Ohtani did of pitching 6 innings and hitting a few home runs, Rick Wise pitched a complete game no-hitter against the Cincinnati Reds on June 23rd, 1971. And by the way, what did he do? He hit 2 home runs in the same game. That's right, 2 home runs. And frankly, that was a rare two-way accomplishment that has become a benchmark in baseball history. That's right, he pitched a no-hitter and hit a couple of home runs. versus Ohtani pitching, well, 2/3 of a baseball game and not completing the game. And guess what? It wasn't a no-hitter. I mean, he was out in the 7th inning. So you say, well, does 3 home runs from Show Me the Money, Shohei Ohtani, and here I've got something for you for that.
Show me the money!
Shohei Ohtani. Anyway, but do the 3 homers in 6 innings pitched outdo what Rick Wise did in 1971 by pitching a complete game, no-hitter, and hitting 2 home runs? There's a lot to unpack there. And we're not going to unpack too much about it, but here's what we are going to do. We're going to let you, on break, think about it and get with us. Send us a message at info@thesportscircus.com. Info@thesportscircus.com. And tell me what you think about this. Because what Rick Wise did, in my opinion, absolutely outdoes what Shohei Ohtani did. And I don't give a damn whether it's regular season or playoffs in this particular case. Because a no-no is a no-no. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with...
Everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Check them out, folks. By the way, they've been with us since the very beginning, way back in 2016 when we started this program, and we want to give special acknowledgement to the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Got to tell you, folks, great baseball program. Girls softball is outstanding. Basketball team getting better. Soccer team getting a lot better. And guess what? The volleyball team's doing well as well. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out, folks. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our network affiliates and independents, including our friends over in Atlanta. Thanks for waking up with us on 99.1 FM WDJY. Over in Auburn, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, Montgomery, Alabama, thanks for driving home with us, listening in on WAUD, that's home of the Atlanta Braves. Welcome into everybody up and down the heartland, out to the West Coast, those driving between sunny Southern California and Las Vegas, listening in on Highway Country Radio, 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM, all the way up the West Coast to Anchorage, down to Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And, of course, a big welcome into everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild, Charter, and independent cable affiliates from coast to coast in select markets, as well as hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms. And everybody's streaming on Pick Your Favorite Streamer. And, of course, everybody also tuning in on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Okay, back with this discussion about these great games. And so I led off today's program with Vin Scully, the great Vin Scully's sound bite of calling the end of the perfect game for Don Larson in the World Series with the New York Yankees against the Brooklyn Dodgers. And arguably, I think that was 1956, that was probably the best performance by a pitcher in the most pressure-packed situation. And then people are arguing that, well, Shohei Ohtani, yeah, he hit 3 home runs back on October 17, 2025, and he pitched 6+ scoreless innings, allowing just 2 hits and 10 strikeouts. All right, he also had a walk and finished with a final ERA of 3.01 for the season, which is very good. Good for him. However, I said, wait a minute. Not so fast. Hold my drink. Because, in case you don't know, it was a better performance, in my opinion, by a gentleman who was a pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies back on June 23rd of 1971. Rick Wise. He overcame the flu to no-hit the Cincinnati Reds in a 4-0 shutout at Riverfront Stadium. Only a 6th-inning walk to Davey Concepcion denied Rick Wise of what would have been a perfect game and the second one in Phillies history. He also hit a couple of home runs. That's right, a 1-out, 2-run homer off of Ross Grinsley in the 5th and a leadoff solo shot off Clay Carroll in the 8th. So here we are late in the game. And what's he still doing? Man, this guy's hitting bombs. Oh, and by the way, he's throwing a no-hitter. Now, Wise, Wes Farrell back in 1931, Jim Tobin back in 1944, and Earl Wilson in 1962 are the only pitchers to throw a no-hitter and hit a home run in the same game. So this whole thing with Ohtani in the first place, it's not that big a deal because he didn't even pitch a complete game, let alone a no-hitter. Back on August 28th, against the San Francisco Giants, that was in the same year of 1971, Wise also hit 2 home runs again. And on September 28th of the same year, against the Chicago Cubs, he completed a string of retiring 32 batters in a row, 4 shy of Harvey Haddock's major league record, also driving in the winning run in the 12th of that game on September 18th, 1971. So if you're trying to tell me that Ohtani's 3 home runs, it's a really good thing, did in the playoffs, really good thing, and Ohtani also threw 6+ innings of scoreless ball, He had 10 strikeouts, and I think that's wonderful. But folks, come on. That is not the best performance in baseball history. I mean, look, the list goes on and on and on about this. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you just a little snippet here of some other ideas to think about. Yeah, there's the Ohtani, there's the Wise. How about Sandy Koufax in his Game 7 performance is often mentioned as the greatest due to the high stakes and perseverance. That's right, the great Sandy Koufax, in case you didn't know. How about Bob Gibson? 17 strikeout shutout is another performance frequently cited among baseball's best in history. Now, Bob did not hit a home run, nor did Sandy Koufax. How about Jim Tobin? Pitched a complete game and hit 3 home runs in a single game. Okay, so here we go. Let's just think about Jim Tobin and Shohei Ohtani. When we say Shohei Ohtani, we always say,
Show me the money!
Shohei Ohtani. So if that's the case, so Ohtani pitched 6 innings. Well, this guy, being Jim Tobin, back in 1942, he pitched a complete game and hit 3 home runs on top of it. That's right. So he did 3 innings better of pitching, that is, than Ohtani. That's right. And you think about the players that he had to pitch against. Tobin was pitching against Murderer's Row type, where you have 1 through 9 that could take the ball out of the park. Whereas I don't necessarily believe that Ohtani was facing 1 through 9 that could take the ball out of the yard. I would say maybe 3 of the guys can hit the ball out of the yard on a fairly, I wouldn't say a regular basis, but they're 20, 30 home run guys and that caliber. Jim Tobin, on the other hand, hit 3 home runs in a game and pitched a complete game. So, you the listener, let's go ahead and read a little bit of email. And let's see. All right, so we have this one from Jim. And Jim says, no way Ohtani and his game are the best in my recollection. And I've been around watching baseball for 50 years. Okay, so Jim, I'm going to tell you the same thing I just mentioned. Look, me personally, watching baseball as long as I have, I would say that is a great performance. However, there are better performances. And he obviously is thinking about the idea of a pitcher. But folks, let me tell you something. Think about the idea of players hitting multiple home runs in a game. And you say, well, okay, now this is done by a pitcher. Well, Ohtani happens to be playing his position 1 time per week. That's right. He's pitching technically 1 game a week. What about the guys that are out there playing in positions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9? Catcher, first, second, third, short, left, right, or left, center, right, right? What about all of those guys? They play defense every day. Every game they're out there playing defense and they're hitting. So people say, well, Ohtani is the best player in baseball. In my opinion, he's really good, but he's not the best player. I had this talk with Bobby Valentine. And in fact, it was on this show, Bobby Valentine, the great Bobby Valentine, manager in Major League Baseball for many, many years. And he still does the pregame, postgame for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And I said, he can't be the best player in baseball because he can't hit an inside pitch. And of course, Bobby didn't like it. And so I'm shying away from this thing with Jim, the email I got from Jim. Sorry, Jim. Bottom line, it's not a better performance than what I just mentioned. But when I had this conversation with Bobby, he said, well, all you pitchers think the same way. I'm a former pitcher. Well, the reality is, folks, if you watch Ohtani hit and you watch him pitch, he's actually a better pitcher than he is a hitter. I think hitting-wise, I believe he hit, I want to say he hit 281 this year, or thereabouts, right close to it. And that's really good. Hitting 281, I mean, let's face it, in today's time, anybody that's hitting over 230 seems to be pretty good in baseball, where back in the day, we'll say 50 years ago, you really had to hit 260 or above, in my opinion, really. We'll just say above 250 to stay on a major league roster. Otherwise, largely you're sent down. Unless you're a catcher, maybe you might get away with 230, which are the better hitters seemingly in today's game. But the reality is you look at Ohtani hit, and Ohtani has a really hard time with inside pitches, especially up and in pitches, where he can't extend his arms, and he gets tied up very quickly. Now, Ohtani doesn't have a lot of bat speed through the strike zone. He has to drag that bat through the strike zone. It's like he's lumbering a shovel through the strike zone. That's kind of looks like he's swinging a shovel the way he swings it. He doesn't roll those wrists over in the strike zone, so he can't get around on an inside pitch. And so if you bust him up and in, he doesn't have the ability to extend his arms. And even if he tries to pull his hands in, the problem is he doesn't roll over the wrist in the strike zone, in the hitting area. And on top of it, he uppercut swings. So go back to basic geometry in a flat plane where it's intersected by an angle. That's what you got to think about. We're going to pick up on that when we come back here on the Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guest, our prior guest, recorded shows which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, Pandora, YouTube, and a whole host of others. Also, make sure you check out the partners page at thesportscircus.com. Lots of great partners. Our favorite is Al's number one Italian beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Check them out, folks. If you can't get over there to Little Italy in Chicago, you can also find them online at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. You can learn all about the origin of the Italian beef sandwich. In fact, they are the creators from 117 years ago. And then they opened up the business in 1938 officially at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Got to tell you, folks, it is incredible food. If you don't know it, read about it, and then you can order it online if you like. Guess what? Either way, we don't get a dog in a fight because we want an Italian beef sandwich in the fight, if you know what I mean. All right. By the way, in the first segment at the top of the show, we posted something, or we discussed something real quick, a contest for all of those people that are listening and they're interested in picking up a couple of nights in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri. And there was a simple trivia question tied to it. And which one of these three pitched a perfect game in the World Series? Was it A, Shohei Ohtani, B, Randy Johnson, the big unit, or C, Don Larson? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Again, 888-576-5777 for a couple of nights over in Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. And again, Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights in any of those locations. If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777. All right, back at it here. And so in the prior segment, I was talking about Ohtani. We kind of got off on a tangent here. Well, I did anyway. But it's just because I look at Ohtani from the pitcher's perspective. I think he's a better pitcher than a hitter on top of it. But when you look at him as a hitter and you say, well, what makes him a good hitter? What makes him a great hitter? Better yet, what makes a good hitter? What makes a great hitter? A great hitter can pull their hands in on an inside pitch. Even if the ball is 6 inches off the plate, they could pull their hands in and they could drive the ball down the line, keep it fair. A good hitter can hit the ball, and once in a great while, they'll somehow keep it they'll keep it fair, but they'll inside out it. So it'll jam them so badly. If it's a lefty, for example, they'll somehow dump it over the shortstop over in left field, or the other way around, where it's a righty, they'll dump it over the second baseman's head into right field, better yet, versus the other one in left field. Anyway, my point is, when you look at a good hitter versus a great hitter, these are some of the things that you think about. Does the ability of the hitter allow them to hit the ball, to pull the ball down the line, whether it's a home run or a double down the line, or even sneak it by the first or third base bag? So the great hitters, they pull their hands in and they hit it with power. The good hitters will fight it off and drive it to the opposite field and dump it right over the shortstop or over the second baseman's head. There's a big difference in that. The average hitters, they just won't hit the ball, and anything less than the average hitter, they just won't do it. They're professional hitters, and they're typically trained to protect around two strikes. But when you've got a good pitcher that's coming in some kind of a sweeping motion or whatnot, you've got to be able to either A, take that lefty-lefty matchup or righty-righty matchup. You got to be able to take them to the opposite field. Those are the good hitters as well. The average hitter, they can do that once in a while. It depends on the sweeping action, depends on the angle, not all this the spin rate and all this other crap. I don't care about that. I'm talking about the art of pitching and the art of hitting. If you can actually drive the ball in the other direction with some kind of tact, well, that makes you a good hitter. Guys like Pete Rose. Pete Rose was a singles hitter, and Pete Rose had the ability to muscle inside pitches to the opposite field. Pete was a really good hitter. Guys like Ichiro, but you can call him Ichiro, who was a better hitter. That's right, he was a better hitter, and he actually was a more decorated hitter than Pete Rose. Sorry, all you baseball purists. The real hit king is Ichiro Suzuki. However, those are really good hitters, but they're not great hitters. In today's time, we don't have Suzuki, we don't have Rose, but what we do have is somebody that hit just like Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn was a great hitter. Great hitter. And you got a guy on the same team in San Diego in Luis Ariz. Luis Ariz hits, he looks like Tony Gwynn at the plate. His bat speed is incredible. He does the same everything. And I think he probably has modeled his game largely after Tony Gwynn at the plate. But what we're talking about is a guy like Ohtani. Does he have those skills? No, he doesn't have it as a hitter. No. But as a pitcher, I will tell you, the guy has good stuff. Now, he's 31 years of age, thereabouts, 31, 32, whatever the heck it is. And he has incredible ability. He throws the ball hard. My concern is that Ohtani throws the ball too hard. And you don't have to strike everybody out. I know. I grew up that way. I was on the worst team in the history of my Little League team. I felt like I had to strike everybody out because the 7 guys behind me could not field the ball. And so when you have a bad team behind you, you feel more responsibility that you have to strike people out. Don't let them hit the ball. Well, with a guy like Ohtani with a good defense behind him, he should pitch to contact. He'll last a hell of a lot longer in the league as a pitcher. I think he really has another year, maybe 2 max, as a pitcher, and then he goes to full-time DH. I really think that's what's going to happen. But let's go back to this. Is this the best performance in baseball? I'm going to tell you, just alone, when you're looking at Rick Wise outdid what Shohei Ohtani did in the NLCS Game 4, because it was Rick Wise that had 2 homers and pitched a no-hitter. That's right. He did that, and Ohtani didn't do that. Right? Then we also talked about Jim Tobin. Jim Tobin pitched a complete game and hit 3 home runs in a single game. That's right. And Ohtani pitched 6 innings and hit 3 home runs. Well, Jim Tobin already trumps that. But me personally, I look at one guy and say, what was the best single performance in baseball history? It's real simple. And this separates the men from the boys, and I don't give a damn what level it is. I don't care if you're doing it at A-ball, AA, AAA, or the bigs. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you're doing it in Japan. I don't care if you're doing it in Korea. If you can do this, you are the grand champion in baseball performance. Now think about this. There is something called a home run cycle. In case you don't know what that is, that's essentially hitting a solo shot, a 2-run shot, a 3-run homer, and a grand slam in the same game. That's right. Now, that has been done remarkably twice. That's crazy. First time by Chandler Redmond of the Springfield Cardinals in 2022. Actually, that's the second time. The first time was Tyrone Horn by the Arkansas Travelers in 1998. So Tyrone, he achieved the first home run cycle in professional baseball history back in 1998. Hit a grand slam in the second, a solo shot in the 5th, a 3-run shot in the 6th, and of course, that's all while playing for the Arkansas Travelers. Now, Chandler Redmond, he did it in August 10th of 2022 while playing AA Springfield Cardinals. His cycle included a 2-run homer in the 5th, a grand slam in the 6th, a solo shot in the 7th, and a 3-run shot in the 8th. That's nuts. Those guys did the unthinkable. Yes! And they get the super applause because they're the only 2 players in professional baseball history to ever do such a thing. And I don't care whether it was Ohtani, 3 games in the playoffs. Or what. That's great. I think that's wonderful. Well, guess what? I mean, yeah. If you're doing it at the A-ball, AA, AAA level, whatever, remember, it's all professional baseball. What are they using? They're using Rawlings professional baseballs. And I would have gave them a little bit less, I'd say a less recognition if they did it in AAA. And the reason that I say that is because the AAA baseball is the same as the big league baseball, which I believe that Rob Manfred has tinkered with the baseball to make that ball fly a little bit further. And so that's why we see so many home runs, in my opinion. And so, unfortunately, people playing AAA ball, well, fortunate for them, they get to play with a ball that seems to fly out of the yard a little bit faster than others. However, These guys did it in AA. I like that. A-ball, AA. And the reality is they're not using that, in my opinion, that juiced so-called baseball. They're using the regular baseball. So, was the baseball juiced is the next question I want you to think about before we go on break here. Was the baseball that, remember, the home team supplies the baseballs for the games. Did they give the Milwaukee Brewers baseballs that were, I guess, wound a little bit tighter to throw at the Dodger hitters? That's right. Say it ain't so, but remember,
show me the money!
And I'll show you some home runs. Back here in a few minutes, we're going to go down that rabbit hole because we can. Lots more to come here on The Circus. You'll like this one. Don't go anywhere.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, still live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Welcome back to everybody that is listening on pick your favorite radio network affiliate or independent, or anybody that's watching on television, or anybody that's streaming on pick your favorite platform. We're all over the place, folks. By the way, check out the sportscircus.com's store. Yes, there's a store tab across the top. And let's face it, lots of great ideas for gifts, from hats, hoodies, t-shirts, coats, pants, coffee mugs, travel mugs, pillows, mouse pads, you name it, they're all there. The Sports Circus store at thesportscircus.com. Make sure you check that out, folks, with the clever Sports Circus logo on all of our items, all American made as well. Make sure you check that out. Remember, we have bills to pay too, just like you do. But we also are the providers of this fun and interesting content. So make sure you support us. All right, so I left off talking about the potential of baseballs being compromised. Somehow we got away from the idea, and I want to wrap this up first with the Ohtani best game ever in baseball. No, because Rick Wise had the best game in Major League Baseball. I think the best game overall in all of baseball. It goes to both Tyrone Horn and Chandler Redmond, a couple of guys that hit for the home run cycle in a professional baseball game. Folks, trust me, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, in my opinion, that beats that. Nothing at all. So you could say Ohtani all you want, but the first thing you got to do is get past Rick Wise with his 2 homers and a no-hitter. And if you could do that, then you have to clear the hurdle of Don Larsen's perfect game in the World Series. So if you can get past all of that stuff, then you can start looking at some of these other notable games. And again, Jim Tobin, yes, he hit 3 home runs in a game and pitched a complete game as well. So, and that was in big league ball too. So please, let's not forget about some of the great performances out there, from Kirby Puckett to Roger Clemens to, pick your favorite player. There's so many good performances. And then you say, well, all right, how about the idea that Mickey Mantle hit a baseball 643 foot in distance? That's right. Yes, Mickey Mantle hit a 643 home run on September 10th of 1960, which was recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest measured home run in Major League games. The ball was hit off of Paul Foytak and landed in a warehouse at the Brooks Lumber Company. Now, the distance was later calculated using triangulation and eyewitness accounts to determine the precise landing spot. That's nuts. 643 foot. So, yeah, Ohtani hit a bomb. I think it was 467 foot. Now, remember, Mickey Mantle was hitting a beanbag. Those balls, that was essentially a dead ball back in the day. Can you imagine Mickey Mantle hitting with today's baseballs? He hit Titanic home runs on a regular basis. Mantle could have probably hit that ball 700 feet. How about a little perspective, folks? Ohtani's monster shot out of Dodger Stadium was 469 foot. Mantle hit a 643 foot shot, which puts that one well into the Chavez Ravine parking lot. In case you don't know Chavez Ravine as Dodger Stadium. Now, I've been there many a game, and I'll have to tell you, first of all, the Ohtani shot was a big shot. That was big. I mean, it got out in a big fat hurry. But it wasn't anything near. We're talking Mickey Mantle's was nearly 100. It was actually 100, and we'll call it 180 foot longer. Thereabouts, 175 feet longer, whatever the hell. That is a monster shot. And by the way, add the fact that the ball back then was certainly not the same live ball today. That's why they use the term live ball era versus non-live ball era, if you will. Right back in the day, it was a beanbag, just about. And they were hitting baseballs that were, well, they didn't cut through the wind so well. Let's look at it that way. So think of the sheer strength of what Mantle was able to do. That's why guys like Joe DiMaggio didn't like him, because he technically upstaged, Mickey Mantle upstaged Joe DiMaggio, because why? Because he hit the ball further. He played a better position. He could play while he was having a cocktail or something like that, whatever, or smoking, whatever the hell he did. And DiMaggio's like, well, he's not good for the Yankee brand or whatever. Yeah, I think he's just a little bit jealous. Sorry, it is what it is. And DiMaggio was a great player, but Mantle was a whole different animal. So you say, well, is that 643-foot home run more impressive than what Ohtani did against the Milwaukee Brewers? I got to tell you, folks, that's a tough argument. 3 homers in a game, one being a big shot. The other 2, yeah, they were good. Versus the longest home run in the history of Major League Baseball. That still sits in the Guinness Book of World Records today. Think about that. Now I ask you, did Ohtani have the best performance in baseball history? I ask you, the listener, because for me, I say absolutely no.
Stop it!
Absolutely no. I look, and I respect what he did, but I just don't see it. And people will argue for it because why? They say, well, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. Okay, it's the greatest thing you've ever seen, but what about the greatest thing you've never seen that other people saw? And that's where you have to draw the line. Mickey Mantle's 643 shot not only was a titanic blast, but it was with a different baseball. Can you imagine? Again, Mantle hitting with today's baseballs. Today's baseballs seem to be wound tighter. They travel a hell of a lot further and all this other crap. So you say, well, did the Brewers have to throw pitches with baseballs that were, I guess, more well-traveled baseballs, if you know what I mean? I guess that's the first question that I have, given the focus on betting in today's time. Something tells me, and of course there's no rhyme or reason to it, it's just my opinion, it's my crazy idea, that I think the Brewers, well, they suffered from the home field advantage situation. I think a lot of teams do in today's time because there's so much money on it. Why do home teams seem to get more home runs? I don't know. And you could think about that because remember, the home team supplies the baseballs per game. That's right. They rub them down. They do everything. So you ask yourself, were the baseballs compromised? I'm not trying to take anything away from Ohtani. I'm just trying to say the obvious. In my opinion, the obvious to me says there's so much hype and so much nonsense put on the poster boy for professional baseball. I want to know, is there a difference in the baseballs being thrown or supplied while the Milwaukee Brewers were out there on defense and pitching versus when the Dodgers were out there pitching? Now, that's a fair question. That's a very fair question. You may not agree with it, but that's okay. Most people don't agree with that. They say, oh, Ohtani's performance was the best in baseball history. No, it wasn't. The 2 kids that hit for the home run cycle is the 2 best performances in baseball history, followed by Rick Wise with 3 home runs and a no-hitter. Or 2 home runs and a no-hitter. 2 home runs and a no-hitter. That in itself is nuts. Think about all the work that goes in. Think about that, and then we'll take it from there. So as we look at these best single game performances, there's some honorable mentions as well. And some of those could be ejections. How about on June 24th of 2000, Bobby Cox was ejected in the first inning while arguing a catcher's balk call. How do you like that one? I mean, that's good stuff. But really, you just can't beat the Babe Ruth combined no-hitter story either. I mean, there's so much out there. So much out there. And I don't know. I mean, one of my favorites is Max Scherzer's second no-hitter. And he had 9 straight swinging strikeouts. And that's late in the game, between the 6th inning and the 9th inning. That's nuts. Think about that accomplishment. A swinging strikeout, yeah, that's pretty cool. But getting 9 in a row. I mean, seriously, that one should have been a perfect game, unfortunately. But, well, there was somebody in there that, kind of wrecked that. But it doesn't matter. I mean, Don Larsen's World Series perfect game is the most pressure-packed performance, I think, in Major League Baseball history. Jack Morris, 1991 World Series Game 7, 10-inning shutout win against the Braves. Come on. That gem is certainly up for some kind of a honorable mention. People say, well, Nate Eovaldi, he pitched 6-7 innings, whatever, in relief in a World Series game. Yeah, that's great. That's great. But there are other performances. How about Josh Hamilton? 5 for 5, 4 home runs, 18 total bases. I mean, you had that also with Green. I think Green had 4 homers, and he had, what did he have? 4 homers. Wait a minute. We have somebody else. I think it was Fernando Tatis had 2 grand slams in 1 inning. I mean, these are some of the crazy performances out there. 2 grand slams in 1 inning? I mean, I don't know anybody else that's ever done that. Is that a better performance than what Ohtani did? I don't know. So he had 2 swings at a bat. He had 8 RBIs. But to be able to hit 2 in 1 inning is insane if you think about it. I think what Ohtani did is probably a little bit better than the 2 grannies in 1 inning. But the 2 grannies in 1 inning is crazy to even imagine. But wow, I mean, some of these performances are insane. And so it's easy to say, well, this one's great, that one's great. But Ohtani, what he did in the playoffs is not the greatest performance in a baseball game. So that's probably, I don't know, probably overshadowed even by guys like Warren Spahn and Juan Marichal, each going 16 innings in a 1-0 game where the only run was a walk-off solo homer by Willie Mays. I mean, come on. 2 guys pitching 16 innings in a 1-0 game? And you're trying to tell me Ohtani's 6 innings pitched is a big deal? All right, let's think about this, folks. All right, better yet, I'm done thinking about this. I mean, look, even Juan Marichal's 16-inning shutout by itself is incredible. Nolan Ryan once threw 235 pitches in a game, right? So if you're going to tell me that one guy had the best performance of all time, you better start digging through the record books. And at the end of the day, you'll find there are many, many other performances that were equally or better. So that's all I got to say, and that's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.